So yes, to summarize, we said work as a process, inputs, outputs to the customers. Okay, so applies to all work. How many of you agree? Wherever there is business, there is process. And wherever there is process, there is input and output and customer and suppliers. Okay, so applies to all work. So it's important to understand this. And high level view of this process always helps when you are trying to narrow down to a problem and solve the problem in that area. Like you have a helicopter view when there is a flood, right? You have a helicopter view when there is a disaster in the city. Defining the project boundary, starting point, end point is very important, and describe where to collect data collection plan is also important. Okay, now we will get into a little bit of detail into SIPOC. Okay, let's start with the purpose of SIPOC. This is a sort of checklist. Why does this process exist? What is the purpose of this process and what is the outcome? Okay, it's very important. Why does this process exist? This is a sort of checklist when you do process mapping. Okay, it helps you a lot to have a checklist. Why does this process exist? What is the purpose of this process? What is the outcome of the process? Outputs. What does the process make? Okay, it's very important to know what are the outputs of this process. At what point does this process end? Customers. Who uses the products from this process? Who are the customers? Inputs. Where does the information or material or the work come from? Who are your suppliers? Where do they affect the process flow? What effect do they have on the process and outcome? And process steps, what happens to each input and what conversion activities takes place. For example, let's take pizza. Okay, is that okay to take a restaurant example? Suppose making a pizza. Why does this process exist? Or coffee making process or tea making process. Why does this process exist? What is the purpose of this process? And what is the outcome of this process? What is the outcome of a pizza making process? A good pizza, right? Like what customer wants. So we are staying with the same pizza example just to make sure that we are very clear about this. So what product does this process make? Of course, quality pizza. What are the outputs of this process? I'll tell you in a video now, okay? The output of the process can be a bill also and a cash paid also, okay? Let's see if the customer is visiting a restaurant. Let's see the output with an example, okay? And at what point does this process end? Suppose a customer enters the pizza restaurant and then leaves the pizza restaurant. What point does the process end? Getting money and putting it. Okay, collecting money after this. Now, of course, who are your customers? Let us see in the video example who your customers are, okay? Who uses the products from this process? Who are the customers of this process? Inputs, of course, where does the information or material you work on from? Who are your suppliers of this pizza? Yeah, farmers, dairy makers and all that, right? Inputs. What do they supply? Each of them supply a different type of cheese or vegetables or whatever. Where do they affect the process flow? What effect do they have on the process or outcome? Okay. And now process steps. What happens to each input? What conversion activities takes place in each input? Because when you talk about process step by step, in each activity, some sort of thing takes place step by step. I'll give you one more office example, okay? In office, photocopy. Who are the customers in photocopy? Let's give one more example. Who are the customers? Employees. You. And we are saying file others. Let's see this. Okay, what is the output? Copies. Process. And what are the process in photocopy? Okay, let's see that. Put on the glass, a piece of paper, close the lid, adjust the settings, press the start button, and then copies come out. Remove the originals and copies. High-level view of the process. Inputs, paper, copier, originals, right? Original is the input. So for example, if you have a manual to set up, the setup is also an input. Paper is an input. And paper is supplied by office supply company and original is supplied by you. So there are different suppliers, different customers, right? So SIPOC is not a problem solving tool, okay? SIPOC is to understand the process better. Please, SIPOC is not to solve problems. It's not an analysis tool. It's not a control method tool. It is for better understanding of the process. Maps are a visual representation to understand so that we can make better decisions. If this is not to solve the problem, but it's to understand the problem before we solve it.